Yo, what's good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Fun with Dumb. We've been on a 2-week hiatus because I've been fucking up. I have to get some new equipment, get some things situated, new staff changes. But we're back, and we got a very special guest, brand new to Koreatown within the last year, I would say, by the way of Atlanta. And we got a special co-host also from Atlanta. I have him sitting in. Make some noise for Slug Christ in the building, y'all.
Yeah! Yeah!
Firest ad lives in the game. We got special co-host, a good friend of mine from Atlanta as well, Pasta, Parlay Pass.
Big Pass, checking in with Big Dumb.
Checking in with Pass, a.k.a. I don't know what other.
And I'm here to claim the throne of King of K-Town.
But yeah, you've been making a lot of trips out to Koreatown. You practically live here now.
Pretty much.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in and sitting in with Slug Christ. We've claimed him now. He's a full-on Koreatown resident. Yeah, man. How you feeling over here in these parts?
I'm really liking Korea. I've never lived in like an area like this where I can, being grown up in Atlanta and all that, I've never been able to like just walk to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Or, walk to anywhere.
Is it a distance thing or what? Like,
yeah, it's just like got that big city vibe. Like Atlanta doesn't have that big city vibe. You can't walk down the street. You might be able to get a pack of cigarettes or something, but you can't walk to the grocery store and then walk over here to get your computer fixed and then walk. It's just cool, and I've never had that before. So I mean, yeah, it's really cool. And then it was like culture shock when I first moved here, because there'll be buildings that you don't even know what the fuck they sell unless you'd like know Korean. Like it'll just be like a bunch of crazy symbols and shit, and like you don't know if
like,
that's
what are these lines and blocks.
You don't know if that's like a KBBQ spot or like a nail salon or something.
Right.
It's just crazy. Like,
but you've had experience with Koreans in Atlanta, right?
Yeah,
like this dude right here,
Buford Highway.
Yeah.
I've been there.
that's the area or what?
Yeah, that's
like the original Koreatown.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little more run down now, but it's the original.
Back in the
K-Town.
day, that was the K-Town.
Yeah, well, let me take it back. I met you actually a couple years back in Atlanta when I visited with Keith Ape.
Yep.
For the first time. This was like before 88 was really 88 Rising was starting.
Yeah.
And it was me and Keith working with Sean, who's the CEO of 88 now, but he was our manager. And we go to Atlanta, and I went to what's that area called?
The Barrio.
The Barrio, which is like a famous
East Atlanta,
like housing, like apartments. Like, would you say what's the best definition for that? Is that just like?
It's like a, so the Barrio, we call it the Barrio because it was like a Mexican little like apartment complex.
Yeah.
But like we would be outside, and this one time we just saw a young scooter like in the parking lot of the complex, and it's kind of like that type of thing, like rappers of all sorts of fame levels will be in there because they've probably been through there once or twice while trying to make some money to get to the recording studio.
It was like kind of the way the art district is in Los Angeles with all these artists, you know what I mean? Like an artist commune or whatever. But it's like all the Atlanta like rappers was coming out of there. Awful Records was like, that was the origin, right?
Yeah, like Father and his girlfriend had a spot that like 5 of us lived at, and then like Archibald Slim had a spot on the other side of the complex that like the other 5 of us lived at. So like,
yeah, that shit was wild. When I went to go record with Keith Charles Spacebar, and you were there, and someone else was there too. I think it could have been Archibald.
It was probably Archie.
Yeah, and it was like this apartment, and like motherfuckers was like, I think he was like drawing some shit like on shrooms or something. And I was in the other room recording with Keith Charles Spacebar. But yeah, I mean that was dope to kind of see this like area that I was familiar with because I was reading about it on blogs, and like I think like Fader did a piece on the Barrio or something.
Well, when they did something about McConan, and McConan brought Vice through there, Yeah, it was Vice. Not
And that was
theater.
where you were recording a lot too?
Yeah, definitely. Like, all of us recorded, a few mixtapes between all of us, like, there. And, but yeah, McConan just brought some people from Vice there. And I think it was kind of weird because when Vice walked in, I think they were trying to get, like, some... It was really weird. They were, like, trying to get some, like, ghetto crack rock cooking shit.
Right,
But it was just, like, 10 rappers in there all making music,
right.
and smoking weed. It wasn't, like... It, like, wasn't what they wanted. They were like, we want, some real...
Trap Atlanta shit.
Yeah.
Can y'all trap it up a little bit?
Can y'all throw some crack rocks on the stove real quick? And that's what we're going for.
But it's, like, really just like, cats just getting mad creative, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there were drugs being sold out of that apartment, but
right.
it wasn't crack rocks.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it seemed like a wild place where cats be turning the fuck up, and you guys were turning up, because I remember, like, Awful Records tour, y'all coming through, I think it was Father's tour, or it was just the whole crew, y'all come through, and I went to the show in Los Globos, and, like, motherfuckers was wilding. Like, Father was fucked up, drunk as fuck on the floor. This fool was throwing up on the corner. Like,
those were dark times.
Those were some dark punk rock vibes for sure.
Awful times.
Yeah. But it was tight because it was also, like, the kind of Awful was killing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all were touring, people. I just kind of, it was dope to kind of see this alternative crew coming out of Atlanta.
Yeah,
like,
I was super stoked on it because Atlanta didn't have, like, an underground rap scene before us, or it was there, but it wasn't like, no one else knew about it besides people in Atlanta. But then kind of when Awful started popping off, there was, like, a lot more community in that underground.
It was like the art
scene.
school kids of Atlanta.
For sure. Me and Zach Fox, we met each other in art school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Father went to art school too, right?
I think he went to Georgia State. He didn't go to I think he was getting, like, his, like, film degree, some sort of film degree or something. But me and Zach were real artists, actually going to real ass art school.
Yeah, no, I was following Zach Fox, like, on his art stuff, Booty, when he was, like, had the Booty Math joint, and, like, his shit was dope, Yeah. And then he was killing on the tweets, and it went full on comedian, professional.
Exactly.
Tweeter.
Yeah. I think he was an animation major, actually.
Oh,
and
shit.
I started off as an animation major too, but I changed my major to painting while I was in school. But we saw each other all the time in those early years at SCAD.
I remember I ran into his art early on, and I had, like, DM'd him, like, yo, I need some artwork.
Yeah.
And I was actually reaching out to get some work from him because I thought his shit was dope as fuck. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy because when I first started seeing Awful and, like, the kind of the roster of the type of cats they were putting out, I was wondering, like, why it hadn't happened earlier in Atlanta, to be honest, because I grew up in Los Angeles with super, like, artsy, like, art school kids in the rap world.
Right.
You know what I mean? And every time I'd visit Atlanta, I'd see it too, like, kids, young weirdo black kids that was doing art and
exactly.
And Awful was like they had that crew. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think in Atlanta, especially for a while, and it's like this still, like, with hip hop as a whole, but it was like you had to fit a certain mold, like, especially in Atlanta. You had to be a drug dealer, you had to be from this part of town, and you had to rap this certain way, and you had to look this certain way, or no one would take you seriously.
Right.
But then there was just kind of a cultural shift. It was a few years after Odd Feature kind of came out, and kind of, like, flipped people's perspective on what rap could be,
Right. Did you guys get that reference a lot, like that? You guys were like the Atlanta Odd Future?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we got that so much, and, I wasn't mad about it, because, it was pretty much spot on, It wasn't like we were trying to do that or anything, but... Yeah, it was cool to have that comparison, and but a few years after they had come out, kind of flipped the cultural perspective on what hip hop could be and stuff. Then that kind of opened the doors for, like, crews like our crew that was a bunch of weirdo kids making rap music.
How was that, like, because I mean I'm a fan, you know. I mean, when y'all were coming out, like every one of y'all, I individually too. I was like, oh, everybody's dope, and they're all different. Like,
Right.
Y'all were like, I had homies who go to the SOB show in New York and see the same kind of wilding out action that I saw in Los Angeles and Los Globos and shit. Like, so were y'all just turning up like crazy on the road while the whole tour, or?
Yeah, for sure. Well, all of us, well, not all of us, but a bunch of us had been doing music for way, way long. You know, I had been in bands since I was 14, and it wasn't until
what kind of music?
Like, math grind.
Oh shit! Yeah, like mathcore.
Yeah. So you know, like,
is that like the Dillinger's Escape Plan?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. So early Dillinger Escape Plan, but even my band was even way more crazier than Dillinger. Like, we were all very technical, and we were like, it's not gonna be in 4/4 timing. It's gonna be in 13/5, and like you know, weird, and like the tempo, it was either like 310 BPM or 60 BPM, you know, shit like that. So yeah, we had all been making music forever,
right?
And then to finally have someone, you know, have a crowd in front of us that knew our lyrics, it was like, I mean, that had been my dream. Like, my life goal was to be able just to pay my rent,
right?
And, you know, I didn't care if I had to live in a hole, you know, as long as I could pay the rent and eat just off music, then I was straight. Like,
and that was the first time that had happened, like, in your whole, like, you know, artist career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then so when it finally happened, we were just like, let's fucking run it, dude. And every show was fucking crazy because we were fucking stoked. And, you know, it was like, for a bunch of us, it was really like a dream come true, like a life goal had been accomplished at that moment. So
that's sick. And I mean, how did you guys meet, actually?
I mean, the crazy thing about Slug is
this is really crazy how far back it goes.
He actually used to produce for the Yellow Boys back in the day.
What? I didn't know that.
Dude, okay, so like it was like 2010 or 11.
Something like,
like 9, 10, 11, something like that. It was before I had ever even started rapping. It was like when I was still in bands, but I was probably about like 18, and so like 10 years ago
10
at
years,
this
man.
point.
10 years solid, baby.
And yeah, so before I was rapping, I was just producing and stuff, and
so this was before you met the rest of the Awful guys?
Well, I knew like Obi, and I knew Keith, and I knew Sintel, I knew Father, and so like but Awful hadn't been a thing yet. It was around that time. It was called Awfully Creative, which was like before Father started getting like into music full blown. He was like going to school for movies and stuff, so he like was trying to start a film company, and he would you know, film music videos and stuff, and that's Awful Records was kind of born out of that.
Right.
And but yeah, around that time Pass just hit me up, or it was
Joel, actually. Joel
I knew
you're making
Joel.
beats for these 3 Asian dudes from Atlanta called the Yellow Boys,
and he's under the alias Chaz Bell.
Yeah, exactly. Just using my regular name. I thought I was gonna be like Kanye West, and I was like, I'm gonna just use my regular name.
I think everyone went through the regular names.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like giving beats to anyone that, you know, because I wasn't in that scene at all. You know, I was in the complete opposite, in the metal scene. So anyone that I kind of barely knew, I knew Joel, who was in Yellow Boys, because I knew him through another band that we played with a lot. And so, yeah, anyone that came to me, I was just like, dude, for sure, I'll make you 5 beats for free tonight. You know, that's how it was back then. And
we definitely got them for free. We did not pay for those beats.
No.
Damn, that's so crazy. Yeah.
And one of them's on the tape too. So
yeah.
So how did you decide to kind of just get into rapping though, coming from that world of bands?
Well, a lot of the people that I was giving beats with, you know, these were just random kids that decided to start rapping, and like, I'm not saying this about Yellow Boys, but most of the people I made beats for, I would hear them and I'd be like, I've never rapped a day in my life, but I feel like I could do so much better than what this dude right here is doing, And one day, but, especially back then, it was, I just didn't see myself as a rapper. Like, I'm a scrawny little white kid from north of Atlanta, like, there was really no, like, market for anything like that, you know, and I wasn't gangster or anything like that, and that was kind of the main prerequisite, was to be some sort of gangster, and that just wasn't me, so I was like, I'll never be able to rap. But
I feel like especially Atlanta, you know,
that's what I was saying
there's
earlier.
Such a specific sound and a look and a feel of everything,
yeah, for sure. And but I just started to try to do it, and it definitely sucked at first, and it took a year or two to actually figure out like what I sounded like when I rapped. It was weird, but
there's still a very particular style too, you know what I mean? Your style isn't, it could be very genreless in a way.
Exactly, and that kind of comes from my crazy background, making all sorts of music. But it was just like, at first when I recorded, I was like embarrassed by it almost, and I didn't release anything without my voice like pitched all the way down, and that was gonna be like, my style was like 100% voice pitch down shit. And then I just got enough confidence and just figured out how to make myself sound cool, basically, and
I was like, when I first heard your shit, I was like, damn, this is some like different shit, and I didn't know what I was listening to, but sonically just sounded good
for sure.
And then I knew when we visited out to Atlanta, like Keith happened to collab with you more than a lot of the other cats. And you guys did one of my favorite songs, Honja, which means alone.
Honja.
That song is still so fire, like, to me. I still think it's one of like Keith's best songs / collabs, whatever. That shit was great.
Well, Keith was like a fan of Awful Records, kind of, and he was like a big fan of me for whatever reason before he had ever popped off. I think before he had even like started really rapping like that, you know. He listened to Awful music and my music especially, and I tell this story all the time, but like when I first met him, he could not speak English like at all. Like he knew like 5 words. And he was like just hanging out with us, we were just like kind of smoking weed, like talking to each other as best as we could, and I had all my shit set up like on a coffee table in the living room, and he was like schlock 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 schlock. You, and he like pointed to the recording gear and was like, my hotel, and I was like, you want me to get my recording gear and we go to your hotel and make some music? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And so we did that, and we made like 3 songs that night, and one of them was Hanja, and it was cool. Like while we were making those songs, we had to like, I would type in my phone and use Google Translate and just kind of like show him what I wanted to say on my phone, and he would read it and be like, okay, and then he'd do the same for me. And like the beginning of Hanja, it was like, it goes like, yo Keith, how do you say alone in Korean? And it's like Hanja.
It's literally like you just asking what that means.
And that's literally how we like had that conversation. And I was like, right after we had that conversation, I was like, yo, let's record what we just said and use that as the intro.
Well, that's great. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a really cool, like, because I had never made any. I'd never.
It's like a hip hop foreign exchange program.
Exactly, dude. It was so cool. It was like, it was a cool process, and
it was cool interesting because I know with Keith, like when Ichima came out, obviously it blew up in all these different cities. Kids in Atlanta was fucking with it heavy, and I remember when we went there for like, it was like Rari Fest or something like that, like a couple years back. And it was like a culture shock for him because he had never gone to, like, it was his first time going to Atlanta, first time going to New York, Austin, like, all, for South by, all these places we were hitting was like his first time. So it was like a culture shock, probably even for him to like go into a crib in the barrio and like record right there.
Yeah, I bet that is a huge cry away from like South Korea, middle of East Atlanta.
Yeah, if you're in Seoul, it's just like you're in a Korean parent's
like
home.
Future.
You take your shoes off, you go inside.
Right.
It's in the bedroom. There's like a fucking cute tissue holder thing, and it's just like, yeah, it's. And but yeah, I mean, Pass got the, you know, he embodies the Korean from Atlanta, I would say.
Yeah, I'm the dirty South Korean man.
He is this is the dirty South Korean look right here.
Literally dirty.
I mean, cats now look like him more now in probably Korea, you know, than they did before, because just everyone's full on dripped out, you know, like.
Yeah, no, when I went to Korea, I saw a whole bunch of people with like similar hairstyles and just trying to like copy the American drip. So.
Pass it started, man. Just remember that.
I watched some stuff about like Korean fashion kids. Like they would just interview kids just walking around this one. I guess it was Seoul or something, but they look fucking insane over there. Like their fashion sense is like, they have like pieces of paper taped to their face, and then like they're like, it's an accessory. Like, it's just like the weirdest shit.
I think they might have just had like eyelid surgery or something, and they had to cover the eye up or something.
Yeah, I don't know if that's fashion. That might have been a medical thing.
And they do. No, they wear like, you know, the face masks and stuff. Yeah. And then like one of them, they were like, asked this kid like, why are you wearing that face mask? And he was like, it's just fashion. Like,
right.
It's like, yeah.
One thing I will say though, like when Awful Records was doing a thing, and you know, with the cats who were part of Awful, who were also like artsy, eccentric, you know, maybe different from some of the cats in the Atlanta scene, it seemed like people were still fucking with y'all, all the local rappers too, though.
Right, yeah, for sure. I mean, well, we all kind of knew, a lot of the rappers, like, we all knew each other, like
even Playboy Cardi was like rocking with you guys early on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I raised Playboy Cardi. me and Archie, like, we totally like fed his ass and shit, like, and but he was, even back then, we knew he was gonna like just
he had like a star quality.
If he just had like that little, you know, like inch to pop him off, then he would take it and run, because he had such an amazing style, you know, and it, like infectious style. Like you hear one song and you're just like, yes, I like this.
Yeah.
But that's how it was back then too. But I mean, yeah, we were all kind of, you know, like me, like a little metal punk kid wearing tight pants and shit, like, and that really wasn't like the thing back then. But I was, even with that said, it was like we were still from Atlanta, and we lived like in, you know, East Atlanta and shit, and so it was like we had a little bit of street cred, even though we looked like a bunch of, you know, dirty punks and stuff.
Yeah. How's the transition been over here? Like, what are your thoughts on like kind of LA, and, you know, far as working on music to the partying, whatever, like what's the LA vibe compared to Atlanta?
I mean, Atlanta is definitely like super, it's not super conservative, but it's still like got that southern old style thing. So
besides just the music scene and shit.
Right. Over here it's like so much more liberal, you know, and like the first time I was in LA, my current girlfriend, who I've been with for like 3 years now, I met her out here. She took me to West Hollywood, and that was culture shock, dude. Like, walking down the street, there was this like cowboy, like this West Hollywood, you know, super gay area. There was this cowboy standing on a table looking at me, going like, pointing at me, like
pelvic thrust.
Yeah, from inside the bar. I'm across the street. He like spotted me and was like, yeah. And I was like, my mind was just like fucking blown. I was like,
assless chaps.
Dude, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, I was like, dude, if you did this in Atlanta, you would get shot like so quick. Like,
right.
But I mean, it's cool out here, but like at the same time, there is that whole Hollywood aspect like out here, you know, and like if it's kind of, you know, if like one person does something wrong and they get like canceled, like I can never hang out with that dude again, or you know, like everyone will cancel me, and it's like, really,
you think that happens more here, you're saying?
Yeah, like I think it's a lot more like
there is getting canceled is like there's a web of getting canceled. Like if one
you're
person
guilty by association.
It is a very guilty by association thing.
A lot of politics.
Exactly, like super politics, and it more so than anywhere, I think it's like that out here, just because you're dealing with that whole Hollywood aspect.
Have you found the transition of like making money a lot easier, like coming here, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I do make more money out here, but it's like I end up at the end of the month, I'm right back where I was, in Atlanta still. So there's definitely a lot more opportunity out here, but you have to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like, obviously everything now is more internet than per se like a scene.
Right.
But even with that said, like, doesn't mean you're gonna get more opportunities or meetings or brand deals or whatever the fuck. Like, you need to kind of be in an area where a lot of that shit happens.
Yeah, and you need to be around the right type of people,
Right.
And then another thing about LA is, like, every night you go out has the potential to be like the craziest fucking night of your life. Like, if you just like kind of let it go a bit more than what like give it a little bit of slack on the rope, then you will go off on a crazy fucking adventure.
I think it's because there's less people who like have regular 9-to-5 type jobs.
Yeah, dude.
So they will fucking escalate that party to, like, I'm like that in K-Town because I grew up in this neighborhood. I know everybody here, and people are just down to take it to a 7 a.m. thing, like on a fucking Tuesday.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've seen that too, Pass, right? You've been hanging out here.
I've been hanging out with you a lot, and
not just me. All right, don't put it on me. All right.
The birds be chirping, the sun's out.
Nah, that's not the good feeling when the birds are fucking chirping, bro.
That's the worst. You're like, what? The party's over.
Kids are going to school.
Oh my god! And I know I fucking had a crazy night when I go home and I have to put on the eye thing to sleep. You know that shit, the little eye mask. That's when I know I fucking went ham that night, bro.
And when your voice is gone the next day.
Oh my god! I mean, you've been staying here the last 2 weeks, and you're talking about how you feeling like, damn, you kept saying like, I think I could survive here. Like,
I think I really can, because I feel like LA is like, it's a lot more expensive and shit. It's harder to live here, but like, you're around so many people that are busting their ass, like, and working hard. It's like you gotta bust your ass. Cause Atlanta, honestly, it's like, this it's cheap. You can live there.
You can coast in Atlanta. You don't have to really try to work. But out here, like, I have to try to get some gig here and there, and then I'll be able to make my rent. The opportunity's there, but I still have to like bust my ass to kind of survive a lot more than in Atlanta.
Why is that? You think there's just more people you can build
cigarettes
with here?
cost $10 out here. Rent, I was just talking to Pass about this, like, rent here versus some places in Atlanta, you get half as less for twice as much. I pay $1,400 for a studio now in Koreatown.
Right.
But in Atlanta,
you could pay mortgage on a house in a subdivision.
I paid like $850 for a 2-bedroom apartment.
Right.
So it's like,
but then it's like it's the economy is set up around those pricing things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, obviously it's priced like that here because there's jobs that will probably pay more too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I've been to some of the Atlanta cribs. This shit is nice to have like a crib you could pay for like a G a month and have 2 floors. You can have
a whole house.
Yeah, like that shit is nice, bro.
It's nice, but it's comfort. But it's like, if you're here, you're trying to be an artist or trying to do some entertainment like type of field, you got to be in LA. You know what I mean?
And a lot of people, like, you've probably seen this, like, a lot of people move out to Atlanta thinking they're gonna make it. There's so many brick walls in Atlanta. Like, that's really one of the reasons why I moved out here, because I felt like I'd kind of pushed it as far as I could in Atlanta. And there's so many gatekeepers out there. Like, a lot of good music comes from Atlanta, but it might not get discovered in Atlanta. It might get discovered somewhere else, but like, there's something about it that there's just a lot of brick walls, and like, a lot of people go there thinking they're gonna make it in the rap game, and just
into Atlanta as like a mecca of like rappers going there.
I think if you're like a hood trap rapper that's from like like Arkansas or like somewhere in the Midwest or somewhere that's not a big city, coming to Atlanta is actually a great place to come to. You know?
That's like the LA of the South, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure. But it's not anything. It's not. You can't compare it to LA in terms of what you're able to achieve
overall.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides just music,
Yeah.
I know, Pass, you mentioned a lot, like Atlanta just growing up is like everybody's trapping out there. Like, it's like that's like a big part of the culture and the grind,
but it's
right?
kind of like here too.
I mean,
like
it is.
a lot of people.
LA is they're specific. Like, the weed game here is like
Right.
it's like the gold rush.
I
you
feel
know what I'm
like
saying?
every person in Atlanta sells weed at least once, like in their life. Like, you know, out here, no one sells weed unless they have a whole nother drug empire.
Cats did. I mean, back then there was always like, you know, I sold little weed in high school and shit like that.
Right.
But like never.
Nowadays,
nowadays it's definitely more of a legit business.
like,
you know?
why would you sell weed when you can just walk down the street and go get it from a store?
It's like a business. Like my dad the other day was like, "Well, I've noticed like everyone's this weed thing is like he wants to get it and shit." And like back when I was in high school, this motherfucker would whoop my ass for smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? Like now this motherfucker's asking like how we can do this together and shit and get involved.
Son, how do we get into the CBD
The marijuana.
market?
Yeah, that's some Asian grind shit, bro. This motherfucker all of a sudden wants to get in because money's involved. Yeah, it's so fucking funny. Yeah, but I mean, that's one thing. I mean, it's a hustle. I know a lot of Asian cats that push out here.
Yeah.
And it's just become a business. It's nothing like weird or anything.
But also the
Right.
thing with Atlanta is like, as far as artists go, it's not even like half of it is if your music is good, but the other half is who you are as a person. You know, like for example, like Rollo, like I wouldn't say his music is the best at all, but he's such a big legend in Atlanta that people respect him, and he just has fans and just, you know what I mean. So it's like Atlanta's a lot of it is who you are as a person. Are you really what you rap about?
Right.
You know.
There's a lot of, I would say though, Atlanta does have a lot of authentic people, man.
Oh yeah,
That's one thing I will always, like every time I go there and I meet new people, I immediately, because sometimes I'll be intimidated, like, you know, before I even met you or like your camp or whatever, you know, I'm obviously a fan of stuff, so, you know, I always like feel like when I kind of create that little like distance of like people I listen to and shit a little bit because I'm like a fan, you know what I mean? And then you meet motherfuckers and they're just like chill.
That was when I first like started meeting people, you know, it's so funny how mind blowing it is how everyone is just a regular dude.
Exactly.
I remember meeting this person, but like Rob Banks, like when he raps, he looks like the biggest cocky asshole in the world, and I would always like watch him rap, and I'd be like, dude, I like his music, but I would never want to hang out with him.
Right.
And then I go to Broward County, like in Florida, and I meet him, and he's just a regular chill dude. Like, it's so funny, and it's like you look back on it, and it's like, why would I not think these are just regular people, you know?
I feel like an asshole at the end. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, exactly.
What was like?
And then people come up to me and they'll be like, wow, you're just like a normal person. I'm like, yeah.
I'm like the opposite. People like damn, Dumb is real nice, and then they meet me and they're like, God damn, he's kind of an asshole.
Scummy dummy.
Yeah. No. It's that's the one thing I've learned a lot to kind of work on myself is like knowing, you know, just not to be intimidated and just know that everybody is a regular person. But I mean, don't get me wrong, there are definitely assholes in the industry too. Like, let's not get that twisted.
Like in Atlanta as well, people will smell how fake you are. Like, you know, because you can take one look at someone who's saying like, I slung 100 pounds of coke yesterday, and then everyone's like, no, you didn't, dude. I can just look at you and see that you did not do that.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people fuck up in Atlanta is they try to they
cap
take
too hard.
They cap way too hard, and then everyone is just like, this guy is a, you know, puppet.
That's the thing. It's like once you get more and more into the game, and you know how even the money works in this industry of how you make money in music, you start listening to the way people flex and all in their lyrics and how they look, and you're like, this motherfucker's definitely not making that much money, or that shit is leased or rented. Because I'm like, I know I make more money than this fool, and I can't afford the shit you have right now.
Oh yeah,
you know,
especially in underground shit, and not even just like in every hip hop thing. Like every car you see in any video is rented. Like every mansion that is an Airbnb they got
or
for
borrow from a friend,
or for exactly.
Like, right. I mean, I don't think anyone's. It's like, you know, people obviously right now, like, you know, like I saw that Drake has like this $220 million plane. I'm like, if you really get into the finances, like that's like his net worth of shit.
Yeah,
you know?
for
but
real.
That it has to be some kind of like deal or something, you know,
payment plan.
Yeah, probably some like Middle Eastern dude in Toronto who's balling, who fucks with Drake heavy.
Jet.
yeah. But so you're out here doing music then? You're like full time?
I mean, I'll never not be doing music.
Yeah.
Like, I've been drawing a lot and painting a lot more lately than music, but I'm never not working on something.
I saw that you had the little merch too. You had the little the candle.
Yeah, dude. So I dropped a hoodie and that candle, and I saw someone tagged me in a picture, like they had gotten one of those Novena candles and then just like taped a piece of paper with my face on it, like cut my face out and just taped it on there.
That's
And I was
how you
like,
got the
hey,
idea?
look at this. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was talking to this kid and I was like, dude, we
I'm
should
like,
make
yeah,
this.
yeah.
And so we made those, and then the hoodies I dropped. Really, like, all the merch I do nowadays is like some drawing I do, and then clean it up in Photoshop and throw it on a shirt.
How did you get your name Slug Christ?
Well, honestly, dude, I just thought of it, and I was like, that sounds weird and badass, and I wanted something that didn't sound like a rap name, I didn't want to be like Lil Moneybags or something like that. I wanted something that...
Lil Moneybags is hot right now. He's
Yeah.
shit.
Like, I wanted something where you just look at the name and you're like, that guy is probably a weirdo,
Has anybody mentioned like Slug from Atmosphere to you?
Oh yeah, especially when I first came out, like, people would get mad at me.
Like
They'd
all
be
the Atmosphere.
Why are you calling yourself Slug? And I'm like the opposite of what that dude
Yeah,
makes,
you guys are the complete opposite. I
Yeah.
know Slug from Atmosphere too, but y'all are
We're
the
probably in the same realm of like consciousness,
Right.
but like our music is like, I'm ignorant, and
Right.
and he's just like boom bap the struggle blah blah blah.
It's like one time that when they Paul Rosenberg introduced Aesop Rock to ASAP Rocky, which was like amazing. Like,
Yeah.
You always wonder, like, you never think that there would be two guys named ASAP Rocky and Aesop Rock
Yeah, dude.
in the same field.
And
you know what I
it
mean?
was also weird when ASAP Rocky decided that would be his name. Like how could you not think of ASAP Rock?
Yeah.
Like,
But
it's
I mean, he probably never had.
yeah, that's
Which
for
is crazy. He's never
For
heard
sure.
of him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're from different worlds, but they are from the same city.
Dude, New York now is like, anyone that pops off from New York is making Southern style music.
it's
like,
true.
And well, I guess at this point it's not even Southern. It's like internet based now. Like the
Yeah, I would like
movements and
if Rocky and Ferg and ASAP is like the New York movement, they definitely have a lot of influence from the South.
yeah, they make
But
straight
then
up
you have
Southern
like
music.
the Beast Coast, all the Pro Era, all those guys.
Right.
That's straight up like New York.
For sure.
Classic shit. Who do you like? I mean, do you listen to a lot of Atlanta artists, or I know you he puts me onto a shitload of Atlanta artists. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I just kind of know the general, like what everybody kind of knows. You know what I mean? Like if you're on the internet and you're keeping up every day.
Right.
But this fool puts me on early. Like, he's the first one who put me up.
Pass is always telling me about
Yeah.
someone. And,
You're the one who put me on to Young Thug. You know what I
Way
mean? Like,
back in
way
the
back
day,
in the
way
day.
back.
He's the first one who put me on
Yeah.
to Young Thug. I mean, the first song I heard was Stoner, and I don't know if that's...
Dude, it's crazy, right? Like, being in Atlanta, I knew about Young Thug when he was on Brick Squad
with
with Gucci,
Yeah.
and like that was probably 3 years before, like, what's that? I stack my money like 2 midgets tall. Song. You know what I'm
I
talking?
know what you're talking about.
It was his first big single.
Okay.
Every time I fuck, I need like
Yeah,
2
Yeah,
guns.
yeah,
It was like 3
That's
years.
after Stoner, though, right?
No, I think
Oh,
that
was
was
it before?
Stoner was the single after.
Oh,
that
was
one.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but like that's crazy. Like we'll be rocking a certain musician in Atlanta, like, and OG Mako too. Like, I remember when he popped off, it was crazy and I mean that's happened a few times with like McConan and him, and
I feel like, man, the game would be so competitive out there.
That's that's
So,
another
yeah.
thing that when artists move to Atlanta,
Yeah.
it's so saturated with these drug rappers.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, because I mean, obviously there's artists everywhere, and it's hard for any artist to make a career out of it.
Anywhere.
Don't get it
Anywhere
twisted,
you
but
are.
Atlanta is like, everyone kind of knows that's the place to go if you're coming from the street life and shit. Like, that's
Exactly.
really where cats pop off, and there's the stories of so many people who have popped off. So I can just see it becoming this mecca where everyone's trying to pop
Yeah.
off from there, and the competition must be crazy.
And that's how people think of LA too.
Yeah,
in a
that's true.
broader sense, just like, if I can make it there, then all my dreams will come true.
Yeah, it's like the way actors come here, the rappers would go to Atlanta.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure. And then you get there and realize half the population is trying to get like your job or whatever. And I just know people don't. They go there thinking that something's gonna happen and goes the complete opposite way.
Yeah, I mean, so Pass, you're about to make this move out to Los Angeles. So how what's the percentage on that? Like, how serious are you?
It's like 100%. Because I've been to LA like multiple times now. And every time I'm like, I want to move here. But now it's like it finally hit me like, okay, I need to get my ass over here.
And was it a fear that you wouldn't be able to kind of take care of yourself out here financially?
Well, that too, but also like I had stuff going on in Atlanta. Like I was shooting that movie with Mike Elwood and stuff, and like I was really focused on that and like doing all my stuff in Atlanta. So it's like now that all that stuff's kind of wrapped up and I'm kind of freed up, it's like I need to come out here. And it's like at the end of the day, what do I have to lose? Like worst case scenario, like I can always go back to Atlanta.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's easy to make decisions when like you don't have much to lose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I always tell that, like, when I jumped into the rap music and rap and all that shit really early and went all in, because if I fucked up, I could always go back to a shitty job. Once you start getting like climbing up a corporate ladder and you're making good ass money, you get a nice place and shit like that shit's harder to go back to music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was always living in a shitty place and all that stuff. So, it wasn't much of a loss. But I have homies who started getting a real job and, like, started making real money. And, shout out to them. I wouldn't want them to go back to their bullshit. Like,
try your rap career.
For them, it's just too much for them to lose.
I know.
What I mean?
I couldn't imagine being 35 and being like, if I don't make it in these next 2 years, then I won't be able to. And then I have, a good office job or something. It's kind of like, why would I even do that, But I've been in this shit since I was 14, dude. Like, and I knew from when I was 12, I was like, I'm gonna make music. I didn't know how to play guitar yet or do anything, but I knew that's what I was gonna do. And that's the thing.
I don't think cats should take it as, like, trying to make it. Like, that's the wrong mentality.
Yeah, no,
what we're doing is, like, this is what we know, we know how to survive off of it.
The fame and money is a byproduct.
Exactly.
People, they see music as a path to an end because they want to be famous and they want to have money. So they see, acting or art, any type of art like that, as a way to get that fame, and that's all they strive for. They don't realize that it's just a byproduct of working your ass off. And like, back in the day, I would make a song every fucking day, and it wasn't because I was trying to get famous. It was because like that's what I wanted to do, was to make shit.
And a lot of cats got to realize even the journey of being able to survive on a level of just wanting to make music, that's a survival trait for a musician. Like, this is like, we know how to fucking at least pay the bills and eat food off this shit. That's already a gift. If you don't know how to do that, you're probably not built for, this. Or
and honestly though, the way you see it now too, like we've been doing music for a while, right?
Yeah.
But now you see cats are just trying to rap quick because
right
they get famous. Like, look, even if they go viral, what are they gonna do? They start rapping because they need a way to make money off their fame.
They get famous first, and then start their music career. Like, rapping.
That is kind of annoying for somebody who's been in this for a while, though.
It is so fucking annoying, bro. Because it's like, you're not a fucking artist.
Right,
you're literally you're an actor playing the part of a musician. That's how I see people like Drake. Like,
for a lot of cats,
Drake.
Yeah, like I really think he's I like his music, but when I look at him, it's like, you're not a musician, you're an actor playing the part of a musician.
But I mean, there's a lot of elements of rap where it is acting too.
For sure, especially if you're going to a higher celebrity type.
And there's, it's just like, I mean, with music, there's a lot of elements where you're doing the take over and over.
You're playing a character.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's certain sounds that are a little bit more acting than others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean,
it is like reciting a line, like in a movie
emotion,
or something.
Yeah, and putting the same emotion.
Yeah,
over.
like, give me a little bit more anger in that, and then you do it, and it might, for sure.
It's like the engineer is like the director.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's up. So what do you have coming out? What's next for you?
Well, me and Nadarb, a Goth Boy Click
Yeah,
producer.
shout out to Darb. Yeah.
Yeah, me and him are working on this like real crazy tape that it's not hip hop based, and I don't even know what genre of music it is. I've never heard anything like it, but like when we started off making these songs, we were like, I knew, at least for me, I think I kind of told him, I was like, let's make something that no one else has made before, and he was just like, yeah, let's do it. And because I like the last year or two, like I've just been really like feeling like I'm going through the motions.
Yeah.
When I make a rap song, it's kind of like, all right, let me put the trap hi-hats in, then the snare on the 3 beat, and then the kick here, and it's kind of, it started to feel really like robotic.
Right.
And it was like I was going down a checklist when I was making a song. You know, got to get this and then this and then this. And so when we sat down to make this new album, like I just didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And it's coming out, like we're pretty much done. Like I'm going over there Friday to finish the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
That's tight.
it's very big sounding, very huge, cinematic and epic, and it's like the synths that we're using are like real big, and I really don't know how to describe it. It's just like almost like Blade Runner soundtrack meets
some
Young Thug
David
or something.
Fincher. Yeah. No, I was gonna ask you too. Just you noticed a lot of just cats who are in bands, from Goth Boy Click to Lil Peep, all that, coming in more into the hip hop. Why do you think that wave just kind of happened in general? And I'm not that like people who listen to rock who never got into hip hop. I grew up listening to rock and shit, but I feel like there's been more on the musician side that's dabbled into like rap music.
Well, the thing is that rock died like in the late 90s.
Is it just the lack of all the bands and like the scene, or what is it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the punk spirit has been existing in hip hop more so than anywhere else, like since the 90s.
So cats just was like, yo, it lives through here.
Yeah. And I mean, when Flocka came out, dude, like in Lex Luger's beats, like I had never heard anything. No one had ever heard anything like that.
Yeah.
Before that shit came out, and it's really like Lex Luger was making like breakdowns, but turning them, in metal. There's breakdowns where it's like dun 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 dun, but Lex Luger was making that instead of doing open palm muted guitar. It was an 808. It was like boom, 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 and it was really like, and then Flock is basically yelling over these tracks, and I had never heard any like metal shit, like metal sounding hip hop. That was always like a novelty with like Linkin Park or Korn. It was like that rap rock shit,
Yeah.
But I had never seen it, that punk spirit integrated into hip hop. It's like so naturally like that.
That's true. That's true.
And I think that was just one of the stepping stones to get to where we are. Like rock music started dying like in the mid 2000s, and then Flocka comes out, and then you start getting these guitar-based beats, and you start getting people singing.
That rock and rap fusion is at the best place it's ever been, and let's say that.
Well, it's not even rap rock fusion anymore.
Yeah.
It's like the most natural
it has
coalesce.
Been, because before it was like that's what it was. It was rock
it's like
rap fusion.
We are rapping and making rock music. And well, I mean, when I was like from 3rd grade to 6th grade, I only listened to Linkin Park. That is literally the only music I fucking listened to. But looking back, it's like that shit is very, cheesy, and it's just very calculated, and it's very like cut
in the
and
way
dry.
they try to make that work, right?
Right. Yeah. It would. Like,
but I think it was like kind of necessary. I guess it played a role into
to get to where we are now.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I see what you mean. All right, well, Slug Christ, thank you for coming on the show, bro.
Swish.
You always like every time I listen to your songs, man, the shit you do, like I get inspired. You know what I'm saying? Like from the libs to the melodies, all the shit.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah, man. Thank you, brother. A pass. Thank you for
Yes,
coming
sir.
on the show. You said very little today.
Anytime, you know, I was playing my role, man. You know, I let you do the
You say
talking.
very little, but you do the most. I wish I had a business card that said that. I say little, but I do the most.
That's definitely not you, bro.
Yeah, tune in next week for another episode of Fun with Dumb. Stay tuned because by the end of May, I will be doing a live taping of the Fun with Dumb show in a theater that seats 200 people. I will be putting out the information out very soon. But yeah, peace.
Sweet.